Okay, testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. I trust everybody can hear my voice. Yeah, so it's been a while since I published a video or a flight. I'll discuss why that's been the case. Just fair warning, I'm going to be sipping a giant cup of tea here while I'm flying, so you'll have to excuse the slurping noises in between the whole session or during the whole session. Yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna want to mute, or I don't want to mute my freaking mic just because I'm drinking tea, so either you're gonna be able to cope with it or you're not. If you're not, well, tough. Okay, let's get going. Weather's cleared up at this particular airport, Morningstar. It's been quite the freaking cold front that came through here. Hopefully I don't face plant before I even get flying. Yeah, and this is probably the third or fourth flight that I've actually tried to do over the past 2 weeks or so, and it's either the frame rate that I want to play along, or there was some other issue that was happening and I had to cancel the friggin' video or delete the video and start from scratch. So this is hopefully now the last time I have to do that, I hope. But yeah, basically what's happened over the past 2 weeks or so is I decided, not very wisely, that it's time to try out Windows 11, and that ended up being a complete disaster. MSFS just would not load in Windows 11 for some obscure reason. No matter what I tried, I troubleshoot it and basically went semi-mental to try and get it to work. And yeah, I just wouldn't, so I ended up having to revert back to Windows 10 after I think the second or third Windows 11, but reinstalled in an attempt to get the issue resolved. And each and every time all my programs and stuff had to be reinstalled as well, which is not ideal. So it's not been a fun 2 weeks, but I'm glad to report that I'm back. And yeah, back on Windows 10. Apparently support for Windows 11 is ending at some point next year, but that operating system is so buggy, it's insane. I just don't think it's worth upgrading, to be honest. If you're on Windows 10 and you're considering upgrading, I would strongly advise against it. First reason being that Windows 11 basically is nicely packaged freaking spyware. If you look at all the tools and stuff and the so-called features that they've got implemented in that operating system and what they actually do, what the point of them is, then you will see that it's all got to do with basically gathering information about users. I think we're just going to head over here to Robben Island. There's Cape Town in the distance, Table Mountain. Glad the weather's cleared up. I've had some crazy issues trying to get through here. Big crazy rain showers and stuff. But anyway, yeah, back to 11, Windows 11. Yeah, major issues with that thing, and I think 3/4 of the issues which are experienced in that operating system is due to the fact that they're trying to force freaking you to hand over your information so that they can basically sell whatever it is they think you need to you. And so it's so tightly built into the OS that you literally can't escape being monitored no matter what you do, whether you're gaming or just working. Me being a web and software developer, I also work on this PC, so I don't really like the idea of my stuff being tracked and being kept tabs on, for obvious reasons. And when I work with NDAs and stuff like that as well, as far as my clients are concerned, so having the freaking operating system spy on me while I'm busy working, it's not ideal. There are ways, obviously, of circumventing that. There are several tools out there which you can use. The problem with those tools are that they end up breaking core functionality, and because Windows 11 is so tightly integrated in terms of its features and stuff, and its telemetry data that gets into Microsoft, it's basically like playing Russian roulette when you start disabling these various bits of telemetry, because you don't know what you are going to end up breaking and how that will affect, for example, your gaming experience. Now, me having bought Flight Simulator through the Microsoft Store, you can imagine the potential problems disabling the telemetry and stuff will have, and that's what I've experienced. But even just the bog standard Windows 11 setup, I couldn't get this flight sim to work, no matter what I did. So that sucked big time. It sucked having to wipe the drive and reinstall Windows again and blah blah blah. It was such a pain. I mean, I haven't had this kind of episode and yonks many years. Normally, standard operating procedure for me is to, I'm just going to bring this throttle down a bit so we don't burn too much fuel, is to do a fresh install of Windows once a year to every 6 months. It just all depends on how bogged down the operating system gets, or how quickly it gets bogged down. So that varies. It also depends on how much quote-unquote experimentation I'm in the mood to do in a particular year. I like to tweak my operating system as much as possible to get the best performance out of it. But even doing that, the law of diminishing returns also start applying after a while, especially if you've got top-end hardware, which I don't have. I don't have bad hardware. You might or might not have seen my PC specs in the description of this video and previous videos, but my hardware's okay. I mean, I don't have bleeding edge hardware, and I also don't have the most recent and up-to-date freaking graphics card, because I can't afford it. Being a husband and a father, and having to pay for a roof over my head, and inflation being what it is nowadays, I really have to prioritize what I spend my money on, and business hasn't been great this year, mainly because of political reasons. Locally, we had major elections and stuff this year as well, so everybody seems to go into friggin' panic mode whenever elections come around and start clutching their friggin' wallets and don't want to spend money on anything. or they delay, and yeah, they're just basically excuses all around. So at the end of the day, that affects you as a businessman. I've been freelancing for about 8 or 9 years now, probably 10 years, closer to 10 years. I don't really keep tabs on these kind of things in terms of time spent. But suffice it to say that I've been freelancing for a while now, and this has been by far the quietest year that I've ever had. So yeah, it's not been great. Flying over Bloberg here, on the way to Melkbos. It's not been great. I lost a major contract. I wouldn't say I lost it. I mean, I did the contract work for some guys in Hong Kong for probably 4 or 5 years, so I'd lost it a good while. It's basically a retainer contract, and my job was to build and test customizations for various e-commerce websites for these guys, and then they would pay me a set retainer every month. So yeah, that worked well. The downside of that is that it put me into a comfort zone. So it was kind of like earning a salary. I still did the odd job for other clients in between doing work for these people, but that was my main income. And so this guy, the owner or director, whatever his role is, decided at the end of Jan this year that yeah, it's a done deal. They don't really have any more work for me. I basically built all the customizations and stuff that they needed, and so they don't have any more work for me, and that means that the retainer contract is coming to an end. And so that was about 75% of my monthly income out the window, which I'm sure you can imagine is a major hit financially. But yeah, bottom line being that I don't have money to spend on the latest and greatest freaking hardware for my rig, so I have to tune the crap out of it and try and optimize my games as much as possible using third-party software like lossless scaling, which is what I'm running Flight Sim on, which is why it looks pretty decent on what is considered to be a completely outdated graphics card. And that also gives me a little bit of breathing room in terms of having to buy a new graphics card at some point, which I'm thankful for. Okay, we're over Melkbos now. Melkbos Strand, west coast of South Africa, for those of you who aren't familiar with South Africa. And we're going to pass by Piketberg nuclear power station shortly, which sits on the coast just outside of Melkbos. So yeah, I mean, that's the long and the short of my story basically. Husband, father, work for myself. I've been working for myself for years. And so now the bottom line is I don't have all this crazy amount of work to do anymore, and yeah, gained some new clients and stuff during the course of this year, so it's not been going too bad. I mean, we are surviving. My wife and I share the same office. She works for an actual company permanently, but she's based from home, which is great. Unlike most husband and wife couples, we actually enjoy each other's company. She's literally my best and only friend. I'm not keen on partying and having like a ton of friends and stuff like that. I've never been like that ever since I was a young boy, so I'm quite happy to be the homebody and to be the father and the husband and just to spend time at home with my family. And so working with my wife is a bonus, because we get to motivate one another and get to support one another, and you know, it's happiness all around. I'm really quite happy with the current setup, so really nothing to complain about. So yeah, that's also why I started. Oh man, I really did a crap job modeling this. I didn't even bother, or Black Shark AI's algorithm didn't pick up the coolers or anything. Look at that, it's all flat. When I have more time on my hands, I'll probably remodel this entire friggin' power plant. But yeah, that's still a ways off. There's turbulence over the trees here, which is not surprising really. There's also a little airfield here called Delta 200, which is basically skydiving outpost. I'll see if I can find it. Let me just fly it somewhere around here. I think it's on the nose, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, so you know, now I've got a bit of extra time on my hands, so while I'm doing the occasional odd job to keep the lights on and stuff for clients, I'm also studying. And I have decided that I'm going to start making videos of me flying aircraft in flight sim and exploring South Africa, which is something I might or might not get to do in real life at some point. There's Delta 200, skydiving little airfield. But yeah, I mean, you might as well. Always wanted to start a YouTube channel, so let me just see that I accidentally put my flaps on. So you know, I might as well do it flying freaking aircraft and flight simulator. Man, it's bumpy here. Gotta love trees and bushes. Let's just get back out over the ocean. Maybe just climb up a little bit, it's kind of low. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm making videos and uploading them, studying, improving my programming skills, which is also taking out several hours a day at this stage, but I'm quite happy to be doing that. It means I can sort of regroup and reposition myself in the market, so that by the time things do pick up again, I can maybe start looking at working with different clients that I normally work with. You know. So yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen with this channel, whether it's actually going to grow or not. I did see that I got, I think, 2 or 3 extra subscribers, which puts me at a freaking grand total of 5 subscribers. Woohoo! Amazing. But you know, you have to start somewhere, so I'm just kind of doing this for fun, and you know, hopefully people find what I do and what I talk about interesting enough to stick around. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. It's either gonna take off or it's not. You know, and you know, I'm at that stage in my life where I really don't actually care. If nothing else, then this will be a sort of nostalgic look back at, you know, my adventures in Flight Simulator. And I've been doing Flight Sim for years. I mean, I'm getting 44 years old this year, so you can imagine, if you're a similar age to mine, you know, what computers and stuff I used to play games on, and Flight Simulator in particular. I still remember the original well, not the original, but one of the earlier versions of Flight Simulator having a plane builder implemented, where you could actually build freaking aircraft and then go test fly them, which was pretty cool. That's way back when Flight Simulator always used to start at that airport in Seattle, which was on the island, which they've since closed. From what I recall, I don't know, maybe they've reopened it or something, but I recall reading about it and I was quite sad, because, you know, sure, I've never been there in real life, but I, you know, had a bit of nostalgic attachment to it because of always flying out there in freaking Flight Simulator version 2. Yeah, so it's amazing to be sitting in Flight Simulator in 2024 and having it look so bloody realistic. I mean, this is insane. I never thought I would see that it would look like this. I mean, you know, you had all the add-ons and stuff for FSX and for X-Plane and all the rest, which kind of made your terrain at least look semi-realistic, but it was never on this kind of scale. And I imagine future iterations they're going to be even freaking better. Although I don't imagine, you know, what else they can really improve in the new version of Flight Simulator that's coming out this year, I believe. Problem, of course, is that the more advanced they make it, the more beefy your hardware needs to be able to run it. So I don't know, maybe if this channel takes off and, you know, gets to a point where I can actually earn some bucks off of it, I'll upgrade the rig and, you know, buy 2024 and see how that goes. But I'm quite happy with 2020 at this stage. I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, just look at that. Where in the world did you see this, you know, several years ago? You didn't see this. 2016, way back when, you know. This is like insane. Even to the water effects. I mean, the wind lines, which are those like darker grey areas and stuff. That's what the ocean looks like in real life. Except, of course, you know, it would be nice if they could actually have some swell generated. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, and considering that this is a friggin' game, a simulator, this is what you get is insane. I wouldn't have bothered, for example, to make videos back in the days of FSX. I mean, why bother? It was just not appealing. At least now you can see some eye candy, you know. It's good to have a cup of tea. So yeah, I used to stay this side of the country many years ago, probably about 11, 12 years ago now. Currently located in central South Africa, in the Wild West, as I call it. Western Cape in South Africa is considered to be a place where all the, you know, the better off people move to, shall we say, the upper middle to, yeah, upper class people move here, and, you know, the result of that was, or has been, that the price of properties and stuff skyrocketed, so it makes it pretty much unaffordable for people like me to actually afford to live here, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy where I'm at. We've got beautiful prairies and farmland and all the rest, and the people are a lot nicer where I'm at. You know, the thing with living in Cape Town, you know, not everybody's like that, but, you know, there's a lot of snobbery that goes on, and you know, everybody's in a freaking clique, and if you're not in a clique, then, you know, you're just outsider, and people look at you through their noses. So I'm not a big fan of that. But yeah, that's what it is. I'm going to zoom in here so you see that mountain there in the distance, that little gap. That's where we're going to be eventually heading through. The airport that we're going to be landing at is in a valley behind that. It's called Piketberg Airport. Beautiful area this of South Africa. Really cool camping sites on the mountains and stuff towards Portugal. Portugal probably sits over there somewhere. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to fly around here, or to pretend to fly at least. I mean, you know, I'd love to have my own aircraft. I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of the Vans series of home-built aircraft. RV6, RV7s, tail dragger configuration specifically, which is why I'm a fan of this particular plane as well, because it's got similar characteristics. They're not as fast as the Vans. It's also aerobatically rated and everything, so I did download a mod from the FlightSim website. Not the FlightSim, I don't remember what it's called now, FSSim or something. But basically, a guy created a RV7 modification, and I'm still to install it and try it out. So hopefully sooner rather than later I'll actually get around to that, and maybe the next flight or the flight after that I'll be flying an RV, which looks similar to this. The difference being it doesn't have this massive bar. Well, some of them probably do. I mean, you can literally customize the canopy to your heart's content. That's the cool thing about having a home-built aircraft and building it yourself. You can customize it to look the way that you want it to look, and you know, no two aircraft is ever going to look the same, whether it's because of a different paint scheme or the interior instrumentation and stuff. The one thing that I would have liked on this particular aircraft is a bigger or an additional GPS, like a G1000 or something, because this little thing is freaking tiny. And there's only so much freaking information that you can display on this. So that would be nice. I mean, it's got this space here at the top, which is wasted. Maybe keep the small one as a backup and then just put a proper G1000 in here. So you've got some sort of redundancy, at least. But you know, it's a freaking simulated aircraft, so you know, who cares at the end of the day. In real life though, I'd definitely mod this thing and probably put a more powerful engine in it, like the IO 360 that the Vans has. I mean, that aircraft is insane. Climb rate of like 1,500 feet per second at sea level minimum, and then you hit your 300 kilometer an hour cruise speed at 50-55% throttle, which is insane. Plus, obviously, it's aerobatically rated, which is awesome. So, I mean, yeah, that's really my freaking ultimate aircraft. If ever, you know, I end up being wealthy enough, at least in a financial sense, I will definitely be investing in one of those, and I will definitely be building it myself. That's for sure. But yeah, priority now is to eventually be able to buy a home for my family, because currently we are still renting, for the same reasons mentioned earlier, inflation and stuff. And the insane thing is that if you compare our the prices of our homes and stuff with the rest of the world, we're actually quite cheap. But the problem is we don't earn insane amounts of money in terms of salary. So for local normal middle class, what is considered middle class folk in South Africa, buying a house is extremely difficult unless you are lucky enough, like a few people, to inherit some money from a relative, and you are able to make a down payment of say half the actual price of the house. Then you can do it. Then it's actually affordable per month. But if you can't do that, and you have to get like a full-on 100% bank loan, I mean, it's insane the amount of money that you have to earn just to qualify. Number one, and number two, the interest rates that you get charged, and then number three, the monthly repayment that you have to make. I mean, yeah, we're renting right now and stuff, but we don't have any debt. Well, I'm actually lying. We've got a little bit of debt in the form of a credit card. But that's it. We don't own anything on our cars. We don't have any sort of clothing, shop accounts, which is a big thing here in South Africa. I'm not sure what it's like overseas, but in SA, having an account to buy clothes on is a big thing. Simply because decent clothes are super expensive. So yeah, the goal is to eventually be able to afford buying a home, and not having to rent from someone anymore. I think there's a certain amount of freedom you experience once you are able to do that, and I want to try avoid making any debt to do so, it's just a lot less stressful to not have debt. I mean, I look at all the folks driving their fancy cars and stuff every day when I take my daughter to school, and some of those cars now cost the same as a freaking house. And so I'm always wondering, it's like, what kind of priorities must you have to think it's okay to spend that kind of money, or to go into that kind of debt to just have the latest freaking pickup truck, like the latest Ford Raptor or whatever, which is different to the Raptors and stuff you find in the US, for example, but it's still a super expensive truck, as we call them here in South Africa, a bakkie. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. I just don't see myself spending money on something like that just to, I don't know, compete with the freaking Joneses or something. Anyway, so this here is Dussin Island, if I am not mistaken. I think it's Dussin Island, yeah. I have to go and double check the name though. But yeah, also some sort of conservatory as far as I'm aware, specifically for penguins, African penguins. Though I might be mistaken, so don't quote me on that. Yeah, and there's also a Air Force base close by, somewhere on the coast here, called Langebaanweg, which was basically, has been the sort of training Air Force base, the Ab initio training Air Force base for the South African Air Force for few decades now. Before that, ab initio training was done in what was then known as a Transvaal on the old Harvard T6. But yeah, eventually it got moved down here, and this is where you would go if you were fortunate enough to get into the Air Force, which I wasn't, for reasons I won't bore you with. But let's just say it was a lifelong dream of mine to become a fighter pilot, and if I couldn't become a fighter pilot, I would fly choppers. And that didn't happen, and I didn't have a plan B, and so yeah, it was a pretty hectic time of my life, to say the least. But you know, we all walk the paths that we need to walk. It's laid out for us. I just wish I had better, you know, guidance during the entire process. You know, I do believe that if my dad was actually around, you know, he would have told me it's all fun and well, that's what you want to do, but you better make sure that you've got a plan B. And I mean, I didn't even think about that. And so what ended up happening is that when I didn't get in to the Air Force, you know, I went into this downward spiral and got involved with all sorts of dodgy folk in the process. Let's just drop down here a little bit so we get a closer view of this place. And yeah, it took several years for me to just get to a point where I could actually operate normally, quote unquote normally. I mean, what is normal nowadays anyway? But I'm sure you understand what I mean. You know, just have a decent job and some bucks, and you know, not be a washout. Which, you know, I was close to being, but luckily I never actually got there, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, my life literally only started evening out probably about 10 years ago when I met my wife. She is my second wife. First wife was a nightmare. And you know, so some of us, you know, we just take more time to get to a point where we can say, okay, we are finally feeling like we are arriving. It's just part of life. And not everybody's going to have the same opportunities. Not everybody's going to have the fatherly presence that they perhaps need. Look at these waves, dude. Look at that. That's insane. You know, so a lot of us have to kind of figure it out on our own, and I believe that is one of the biggest problems in the world today, is that the family has been steadily and systematically abolished ever since feminism poked its ugly little head out of the woodwork. And you know, I mean, you might have a different opinion on this, but if society doesn't have a freaking family or strong family values and doesn't believe in a family and marriage and having children and multiplying and all the rest of those lovely things, then you know, society collapses. It is just a fact, which has been proved in many studies at this point. And so, you know, the amount of broken homes and stuff that we have nowadays directly contributes to the state that society is finding itself in, which is sad. I mean, I grew up in a pretty conservative home, you know, and I can, from my own personal experience, I can tell you the devastating effect it had on me when my father and my mother decided to get a divorce when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I mean, that was crazy, and then I had to get used to a stepdad and all the rest of that stuff. I mean, that's not something that I wish on any kid, let me tell you that. Yeah, you get good stepdads out there, and you know, that really care for the children that they quote unquote inherit. But you also get the assholes. Mine was decent in the beginning, and then when I started getting older and started getting into my teens, you know, me and I, you know, our relationship just kind of soured. So yeah, you know, everybody's mileage will vary as far as these kind of things are concerned, but be under no illusion that it's not an easy thing. And I'm positive that most of the people that actually watch this will come out of some sort of broken family setup. Even if your parents decided to stay together for, you know, quote unquote, for the sake of the kids. I mean, kids aren't stupid, you know, they can pick up very quickly if there are issues and things aren't going well between mom and dad and all the rest of that stuff. So you can pretend all you want that, you know, everything's fine and we're doing great and all the rest of that stuff. And the reality is that, yeah, you're probably not. I think this is Fontaine, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like it. That's the other cool thing about MSFS 2020 is the accuracy of the roads and reproduction of the homes and stuff actually enables you, or gives you the ability to spot towns that you are familiar with from the sky. And I really need to see if I can find a mod for this kind of thing. I mean, look at that. Where have you seen a lake with friggin' square boundaries? Such nonsense. I can do a little bit more. I'll put a little bit more effort into that, honestly. I'll have to go and see if I can get a mod for that. I'm not sure there's something, given the friggin' insane modding community that Microsoft has always had. But yeah, overall I'm quite chuffed with this flight sim. But yeah, anyway, you know, to get back to my point, you know, we all have to make do and make the best of what we have. And you can count yourself lucky if you've actually got you know, a mentor, even if it's not your own father. If you've got some sort of mentor, then count yourself blessed. Honestly. I'm trying to see now where the Langebaan is. I think we're still on our way to it. That's basically, yeah, no, we are. Sorry, that's Langebaan over there. And then Saldanha is way over there. So, you know, you gotta make the best of what you have and try and not make or repeat your mistakes. And you know, that's basically how I learned. And today I can say I'm a, you know, reasonably well-functioning human being. Obviously a lot of things in my life that I would have loved to have had by now, which my peers do have, you know, like their own homes and this and that and the next thing. But you know, I think the biggest lesson that you can teach yourself in life is to not compare yourself with others. And it's difficult. It's difficult not to think that you failed on some level because you don't have what X, Y, and Z has, you know, at the same age. But, you know, there are reasons for everything. I mean, my parents, you know, they didn't have the money, they didn't save up for me to go and study or anything like that. So what I know today about programming and stuff, I have to teach myself. And that makes getting out on top a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging. You don't have that support base. You don't have a parent that buys you the car or that pays for your studies or any of those things. You just have to basically figure it out as you go along. And yes, it makes you a tougher person because you learn early on that, you know, no one's gonna give you, you know, a handout or anything like that, and that you're on your own in the sense of, you know, making something of yourself. Yes, you'll have, you know, moral support and perhaps even be lucky enough to have emotional support from your family members. So that'll help, but as far as the financing and all the rest of that stuff is concerned, you're on your own, you know. But it is what it is. I'm not complaining. I'm where I am. Life is short, and I'm not going to spend time, waste time wondering why I don't have X, Y, and Z, and why my life has been so difficult, and blah 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 blah. I mean, that's just a waste of energy and time. It's best just to get on with it, you know, and be grateful for what you've got. Plenty of things to be grateful for. So this is Langebaan here. This entire stretch over here is basically a conservation area. I've visited this particular peninsula once in my life before, when I used to live in Cape Town. Beautiful place. And beautiful people up the coast here as well. A lot different compared to Cape Townians. Cape Townians are a friggin' force unto themselves, let me tell you. Some good people there. I know a few good people who live in Cape Town, but it's not a... yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to live there now. It's completely overcrowded now compared to when I lived there many moons ago. I mean, my father passed away almost 2 years ago now, and he lived in Cape Town, more on the outskirts, you know, towards Cape Point. And I remember driving down from where I live now, and I arrived on a Sunday. And normally on Sundays, you know, highways and stuff are pretty quiet. What they used to be when I used to live here, or live in Cape Town. And I couldn't believe the amount of traffic that I was seeing on the highways on a friggin' Sunday. It was insane. And it was at that moment that I realized, dude, Cape Town really has lost its appeal. Because all the snobs are moving to it, and, you know, I don't know, I just don't think it's as awesome as it used to be. I think it's just way overcrowded now. So, you know, it's a beautiful place, so don't get me wrong. But you know, the thing is, with any type of migration, you're going to have the good and the bad migrating to a particular province. We have provinces here, by the way, not states. So yeah, but yeah, you're gonna have the good and the bad migrating, and you know, with the mass migration over the past, say, 10 years to Cape Town from other provinces in South Africa, there has also been an increase of you know, crime. So back in the day, you know, when we moved down to the south coast, Mossel Bay and those areas and stuff, it was quiet. You know, you still had this quaint little town feeling going on. And you know, as time went on, everybody wanted to move down, and everybody did start to move down. And now it's just this bustling, super busy, crowded freaking town. And the result being that it's completely lost its appeal, its original appeal, which is sad, you know. I'm not a fan of that, so I really do wish, in some sense, that things could have stayed the same, but you know, it is what it is, and you know, you get stuck. If you get stuck in one place, then there's also not any progress, which is also not a good thing. But yeah, the bottom line is now, because everybody's been moving down, you know, you've got massive price increases in terms of buying a home and stuff, so it's just impossible for us to even consider moving down. And my mom stays on the south coast, and I think it's a similar situation to what you find in Western Australia, or Eastern Australia rather. You know, Sydney and that side of Oz is just insanely expensive in terms of buying property or a home. It's even crazier than over here. So yeah, I mean, we basically have already decided that we're just going to stay where we are, because we can actually have a decent, or make have a decent existence, you know, over here, compared to what we would have if we were to move down to the Western Cape at some point. So we're quite happy where we are right now. And we'll probably stay until, you know, till the day we die, I would imagine, unless something crazy happens and my business becomes so successful that I can earn enough to afford to move my family down to the coast, which would be nice, would be great. But you know, by the time that happens, I'm not sure there's going to be any space left at the rate that people are actually moving down. I mean, it's insane. Strange thing that also happened though is that a lot of people from other provinces started moving down to this province that I'm in. So I'm in the Free State, which is smack in the middle of South Africa. It's basically farming country, corn, wheat, sunflower, potatoes, those kind of things. Although I don't think potatoes are very big. Potatoes are actually quite big on this particular stretch of coast. But the Free State, I don't think it's that huge. It's mostly corn, sunflower, you know, those kind of things. Geez, I've completely lost my train of thought now. But yeah, I don't know. We're quite happy there, you know. I don't have any complaints about where I'm at. Actually, spent most of my early childhood in the Free State. Grew up in several different towns in this province, so I'm quite familiar with it. It's changed a lot since being a child, you know. A lot of things kind of went backwards. But, you know, show me one place in the world where that hasn't been the case. You know, governments falling apart and just not doing what they are supposed to be doing, you know. It's like that everywhere. I think the only thing that is different is that the degree of decay varies from country to country and from state to state and from province to province. Not sure where we are now. This might be Andowl or something, maybe. But yeah, I mean, you have to do what you can to survive at the end of the day. No one's going to look after you, your family, except you. And if you are a Christian like me, you spend a lot of time on your knees and pray and look for guidance and all the rest of that stuff. And yeah, well, animation, these are a bit off. If you zoomed out, looks okay like that. The wind's bumping, that's for sure. These things are going at that speed. But look at it when you zoom out, how freaky it looks. It's probably got something to do with lossless scaling, I would imagine. Yeah. Or my level of detail. I should actually bump that up. Let's do that quickly. See what happens. Okay. Let's go to options. Oh boy. Hello. Normally run this at about 200, so apply and save. Go back. Resume. Sorry about that. It looks crap. Anyway. Might have to do with the object detail level. Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Let's do an active pause here. Let's see whether we can figure out why it's doing that. Okay, back to settings. Medium, maybe object level detail up to 100. Nice. Volumetric clouds, texture resolution, we can bump that up as well. That can be high or ultra, medium. I'm worried much about windshield effects of highlighted distraction, so I normally just leave that as is. This is a freaking FPS killer, ambient occlusion. So we're just going to leave that as is. Motion blur can help frame rates, just depends. Okay, let's see what that does. You must restart. No, I'm not going to restart now, dude, so I'm in the middle of the recording. Okay, it doesn't look much better. That looks fine, but that doesn't look so great. Anyway, let's crack on. This is the active pause, so it will be switched off. And we are going back to mouse camera operation. I use a trackball, by the way, so that makes things a little bit easier. I don't have to like pick up and plonk down the mouse. So yeah, been using trackball for several years now, a Logitech one, and it's made life a lot easier, especially in terms of my work and doing design work and stuff, which I also do. Trackball's always nice to have, just gives you that little bit of more of fine-tuned control, So yeah, especially if you work in software like Fusion 360 and Photoshop and CorelDRAW, although nowadays I don't work in Photoshop and CorelDRAW anymore because it's just insanely expensive. So I work in Inkscape and GIMP, and then Fusion 360's free public license, Bible hobby license, or whatever they call it. So that I use mostly for 3D printing and stuff, and designing replacement parts for my motorcycle, which I'm busy rebuilding, or I was busy rebuilding until I had to stop due to previously discussed financial woes. Though they don't really qualify as woes. I mean, I'm still here, I'm still streaming, I'm still alive, I'm still eating, still get enough work in to be able to pay the bills, so there's really nothing to complain about. But it is healthy to have goals, and my goal is to eventually get back to, or even better than where I was in terms of monthly earnings. So yeah, I believe that will happen at some point. I mean, life is like that, you know, you go through valleys and then you go over mountains and it goes well, and then it doesn't go as well, and that's just part of life. And anybody that tells you otherwise is a fool. I mean, that's the spice of life, as my dad always used to say. That's what makes life life, you know. Going through everything and, you know, getting out alive on the other side. Living to tell the tale, so to speak. Man. I still can't get over how amazing it. I'll find some looks. Let's bump the clouds a bit and see if that makes any difference to the frame rate or the smoothness. As you can see, it's quite smooth right now, so I'm basically still experimenting with this lossless scaling. I'll probably do a video of my particular setup and settings with that at some point. If you guys are interested, all 5 of you, then, you know, just drop a comment below this video and let me know. Do a run through of my settings. Okay, let's check. Clouds. I mean, you know, lossless scaling is a freaking game changer, considering the system that I'm running on. Ooh, that looks sweet. Look more realistic, eh? So yeah, you can get away with reasonably high settings when you use this little piece of software, and it only costs, I believe, $7 or something. Getting a little bit of frame drop now with it on ultra, so I think I'm just going to switch it back down to high. More important to me to have a smooth gaming experience and to have prettiest clouds. I'll have that soon enough, I believe. Once my rig gets upgraded, I basically need to do a dual upgrade. So the graphics card that I'm going to get is one of Intel's A series cards. Let's get this trim sorted out, elevator trim. As you know, from all the reviews and stuff that I've watched, it really is the best bang for the buck. But to get the full performance out of it, because it runs on PCI Express 4.0, which which is double the speed of PCI Express 3.0. I need to get a new motherboard as well. So yeah, it's going to be a fairly expensive outing, for me at least. In US dollar terms, you're probably looking at around, let me just think, probably about 300 or 400 bucks. I mean, we don't have Amazon and all that jazz over here in South Africa, so you pay premium price for computer hardware, you know, unfortunately. I mean, the insane thing is, often I can find, for example, graphics cards, exact same graphics card on Amazon, for cheaper than what it's sold here for at the best price, and that includes shipping and customs and everything. Actually, my previous processor, which was the Ryzen 5, running Ryzen 7 right now, 3700X, but the previous processor was a Ryzen 5, and that was actually ordered from Amazon because I ended up saving about 15 or 20% on the price because it wasn't special. So I'm not averse to ordering, you know, computer parts from Amazon if I can save a few bucks. If it's only like 200 or 300 South African rand, you know, I'd buy it here just because I can then have, you know, extended RMAs support if anything goes wrong, especially with an expensive bit of kit like a graphics card. But if the savings are good enough, then I have no problem with buying from Amazon. So that's a plan. I'm going to buy an ARC graphics card whenever cash flow allows it. That being said, I've been building a motorcycle for the past 5 years, on and off as finances allowed. That's a pretty old motorcycle, almost as old as I am. For those of you who are familiar with motorcycles, it's a Honda XR 600, but super old one, which basically was sitting and rotting in a workshop. I got it for a good price and then decided to rebuild it. 1985 model. And so over the years I've bought a new piston and a new this and a new that and whatnot, and I need a new clutch basket right now at this stage, and I also need to buy filament so that I can print my redesigned mud guards and stuff for the bike. But once I've done that, then the bike should be finished. So there's that, and yeah, just probably going to prioritize that. This channel is going to be a channel with a little bit of everything on it. Plan is to eventually do little excursions into the bush here with the bike once I've got all my gear set up and the bike's finished, and then do recordings of that, which I think should be fun. We've got beautiful countryside here, lots of prairies and stuff, and decent sized mountains not so far away. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a long time coming, so that's one of the projects that I'm busy with. Other project obviously is upgrading this computer and getting MSFS running as well as possible. But yeah, one thing at a time. I think I'm probably going to finish the bike first. I mean, look at this. This is plenty good enough for what I do. So I really can't complain. I wonder if this thing can zoom. I can see how far away we are from the track. Let me see what it says. Navigate pages, band map, transceiver standby. What's that? Standby frequency, cursor, range. Let's zoom out a bit. Jeez. Oh, there we go. That'll do. So I'm actually far off track. That's pretty impressive. Didn't expect that. So we're close to our destination airport, which is cool. Just gonna start flying through the valley here. Beautiful area of the country. Super impressive, and flights with it as well. Those used to look like crap back in the day, man. And you know what the irony is that still spend hours and hours and hours pretending to be a pilot. I actually came through here the other day and I couldn't remember which airport I was actually flying to, and I ended up losing that particular video because of all the reinstalls with Windows that I previously mentioned. So it's actually good to be flying through here again, this time with optimized settings, which is great. A lot smoother, I can tell you that. You'll probably notice the difference compared to my earlier videos and stuff. So MSFS on a budget, I think. Maybe I should have named the channel that, but anyway, I'm not changing any names now. So that little strip is here somewhere, I believe. Trying to already on an intercept course with the GPS waypoint line. So maybe just run through this valley so that I don't freaking face plant into the mountain here. Just a little mini valley on top of the mountain. Imagine having a farm over here, dude. That would be insane. I love nature, by the way, so not a city slicker by any stretch of the imagination. So this is like crazy. It'd be awesome to have a farm like right over there. But I imagine you can also get a friggin' huge amount of wind living on top of a mountain like that, and also probably gets pretty cold. Okay, so I'm not going to fly over this particular range. Quite the updraft on the other side of this mountain. There's a valley over there, so I think we're just going to go through that one. We've got a good idea of where the airport's located at now, so let's do some scenic flying, shall we? Not that it's not been scenic, but a little bit closer to the ground. Yeah, I wonder if the folks that actually have the ability to afford their own aircraft realize what a friggin' privilege they have to be able to fly in a private capacity in their own friggin' aircraft. I mean, do these people even realize it? I'm sure there are folks that realize it, you know, that are really thankful for that, the ability to do that. But I'm also sure that there are probably some folks who just take it as a given, you know, which is sad. I mean, imagine you could do this. Imagine you were so well off that all you did every day was fly around and explore your state or your country. Or, you know, if you have a family like me, you know, on a weekend you go away for the weekend, you know. Anyway, you don't do it by car, you do it by freaking aircraft. Like, you know, we're going to fly to this game reserve in this province for the weekend and chill out there. Come back and fly out on Friday, you know, at Friday lunchtime, and come back on at Sunday lunchtime, kind of thing, you know. That'd be insane. That would be insane. But most of us have to be content with doing imaginary flights, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I'm dropping a bit here in the turn until we pick up speed, and then we'll climb back up again. I think I also flew through this gap the last time I was in this particular valley. There's a bit of rain there. Yeah, this is a mean cold front, eh? We even had some snow in the mountains on this side. It was freaking bitterly cold the past week. Another cold front on the way, so I don't know how familiar you guys are with cold fronts, but what normally happens is, at least here in South Africa, is when a cold front's on its way, it tends to push out, you know, push hot air out in front of it. So you'll have a few warm days before the cold actually arrives. I think I'm gonna just take a shower here. What do you think? Yeah, let's do that. Fly through the rain a bit. Why not? Not like we're paying for fuel or anything, or aircraft maintenance or anything like that. But yeah, it would get warm and then the cold would come and the rain, depending on where you live. So it's winter time now in South Africa, and the way South Africa is set up, largely because of the way the mountain ranges are set up here, is that in winter time this side of the country gets all the rain, as you can tell. I've got real-time weather running here, by the way, so this is actual real-time weather data I'm putting through. And then where I live at is dry, and so that's winter time. And then, okay, so the field's over here on my 9 o'clock position somewhere. I'll find it now. Just gonna take a shower quickly. Anyway, so winter time it rains here, and then summertime is our rainy season in the Free State and the rest of the inland provinces, which is interesting, I think. But yeah, we've basically got a massive amount of mountains like this range you see here that runs right around the skirts South Africa, and that basically generates custom weather systems for this country. I mean, you'd literally be on one side of the mountain and it'd be raining and pouring and stuff, and then once you've driven over the mountain or flown over the mountain, there's like literally no rain and the sun's shining and it's all beautiful weather and so that's pretty cool. I think once we've had a shower, we're just gonna go straight in. If I'm not mistaken, it's over there somewhere. And the wind's coming from this direction, so I want to land downwind. This is actually a good setup. There we go. A bit of rain, a bit of water beating on the windshield. Turbulent. Not as turbulent as flying over the trees, but turbulent enough. I think that's also like a private strip or something. Yeah. Private farm strip. Lots of them here in South Africa, by the way. We'll be visiting some of them in future videos for sure. Although the one that I'm going to be landing on now is also pretty much a farm strip, so. In fact, I think that's on the GPS here. Yeah, that's the one I just showed you. Come rain. Oh, there we go. And then we're going to do a steep left-hand turn, so that we do some height, altitude, start lining up. Yeah, here we go. Dip the wing and get the altitude down. Watch that speed. Oh, right at the limit there. I think that's it over there. Drop the throttle a bit so that we don't go freaking seesawing all over the place. Oh, nice and turbulent. I mean, how cool is that? It's insane. You would never see that in all the flight sims. One thing I did notice about this aircraft is the moment you put the flaps out, it just loses speed like crazy, so you have to be really careful about stalling this thing on approach. Whoosh, lots of turbulence. It's going to be an interesting landing, let me tell you that. There's one of the main roads. Man, I can't believe how smooth this sim is with lossless scaling enabled. It's insane. At these kind of detail levels, I mean, my PC won't handle this under normal conditions, I can tell you that. Just conks out. Yeah, South Africa is full of valleys like these, just like farms, fruit farms. This area is pretty particular, is mostly famous for citrus farming and other fruits. Apples are more towards Cape Town. This is like oranges and nectarines and stuff like that. It's grown here. Waiting to spot this. I don't know, this isn't actually the same airport that I landed on about a week ago. This is different. That's Piketberg over there. Oh, Berg means mountain, by the way. Berg is Afrikaans for mountain, for those of you that aren't familiar with the language. We do mix them a lot here in South Africa. It's kind of tradition. Okay, so I've bumped the throttle up a bit. I don't want to lose too much height right now because I'm not 100% sure where this airport's at. Only thing I do know is that the wind's coming from the direction that I'm facing, so I need to be landing this way. I might just do a flight past first and then circle around downwind and then do a landing. trim here, so we don't have to hang on to the friggin' joystick all the time. Keep the macro from sinking. Okay, I believe we're getting closer. What did I do now? I do aileron trim, apparently. It's wanting to turn on its own. I've got all my trim buttons and stuff set up on the keyboard itself. I simply don't have enough buttons on the joystick to map every single function that I want to it. Okay, I think maybe we're just going to give it a bit more juice so we can get on with it and fly over it and then decide where our turning points and stuff are going to be for landing. Where's this bloody thing? Come on, stop climbing now. If we don't find it, then I'm just going to divert to that airport we saw. Let me just zoom out a bit so we can get a more realistic kind of idea of where this thing is. Looks like it's on the other side. It might actually be the same airport that I landed at last time. I believe it was right there, next to that little mountain range. So yeah, let's see. Far past this river. I should actually map trim reset as well onto my keyboard at some point, so at least you can reset trim quickly before going in for a landing. That way you don't have to friggin' find the stick. Yeah, okay, it is the same. It's the same airport that I landed on last time. I believe it's where? Over here somewhere. Oh yeah, it's here. It's this one. See there? That's a little strip over there. So we're actually on the right side. There's a hangover there. And that is the airstrip right over there. So the turning point I used last time was this building, set of buildings over here, so we're just going to do that right now. Just allows me to, or it allowed me last time to at least do a proper line up on the runway. Pull back the throttle a bit. 2400 around there. We're not quite at flap speed yet. Just want to do some more altitude. Before I extend the flaps. Jeez, it's bumpy. Holy cow. Okay, let's just drop that throttle completely so we don't pick up too much speed on the way down. There it is. Dead on. Right there. Okay. Some throttle back in. Set mixture. I'll try and balance out the friggin' trim. Elevator trim. Insane as the scenery, dude. You would never see this 8 years ago. Never. Fish. Okay, let's just realign here a little bit. It's gonna be an interesting landing with this friggin' wind. And there's air cropping a tail dragger, so yeah, hopefully I don't ground loop the damn thing. Or face plant. Okay, drop throttle. Oh boy. I'm not sure what happened there. What the hell? Okay, so it looks like we've got a freeze. I don't know what happened there. But it's frozen. Oh well, I guess that's it for our session then. Sorry about that, folks, but at least most of the flight completed properly. Perks of having an old system, man. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Chat soon. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like this type of content. And if you can stand me jabbering away as much as I do, I would appreciate it. And leave a comment if you want. Okay, cheers.